Hey everyone, welcome back for episode 7.2. I feel like I should explain the 7.1, 7.2. We finished 7.1 the other day. That was my thoughts on free speech. That's part of a larger, what will be a series now. Is originally intended, episode 7 was going to be one long episode where I cover just every controversial political opinion I might have. And not that all my opinions are controversial, but but all the sort of the categories can be controversial. And so I was going to enumerate all my positions on those things and then release that as episode 7. And I had actually gone a long way to getting that done last week and recorded 10 or 15 little mini segments that I was going to put together in one long video and release all together. I realized that the job was much bigger than I had originally anticipated. I I didn't love all of the segments that I'd recorded. I did them all off the cuff. So what I did is actually let me back up a little bit. I asked AI to produce the list of a list of like 15 to 20 controversial um, topics, politically speaking, and then theologically as well. We'll get to that in a moment. Um, but I asked it to compile a list of controversial political categories, and so I didn't pick these arbitrarily. These were I'm just going to try to walk through all of them. There's a couple I probably won't address. Maybe there's overlap between topics, so I'll just won't address all of them. But that's what I'm doing. So 7.1 was all about free speech. 7.2 is going to be about capitalism and the Christian. Is the idea of a capitalist economy kind of fueled by greed and profit and things like that? Is it opposed to the Christian ethic of charity? How should we think about those things as they clash? As Christians living in a world that has its own economy and ours is capitalist. How should we view that? Should we view it as a negative thing, or is it maybe even a good thing? We'll kind of tease that out a little bit in just a handful of minutes. It won't be a very long video, but that'll be episode 7.2 as we continue our journey through all of my most controversial political opinions as seen through the lens of a Christian. All right, the next topic I will be looking at is capitalism versus Christian ethics. Capitalism versus Christian ethics. The idea, I suppose, from ChatGPT is that those two things are opposed or dichotomous. I don't think that they are. In fact, if the Christian ethic is to raise people out of poverty, then I would say there's no better method for doing so than to embrace a capitalist society, capitalist form of economics. I love following Thomas Sowell. He says this: the market economy or capitalism has lifted more people out of poverty than any other system in history. What I love about Thomas Sowell is that he doesn't just offer rhetoric; he offers research. And so all of his positions and some of the books that if you can see them behind me, I have some of his books on my shelves. They're always researched. He's always providing numbers and data to what he says is true. And so I've long been an advocate of a free capitalist society where the government is as the least involved as possible. Certainly, there's some importance regarding I think monopolies and things like that because we want that competition factor. But I think if we care about lifting people out of poverty, then we should look for systems that do so better than others. And and as Christians, if we use those systems to their full advantage, or we advocate for those systems to their full advantage, we still have a Christian duty to help the poor. We absolutely do. But there will be fewer poor for us to care for. And so I'm in favor of a capitalist system of economy. I understand that it runs on greed. And that's not to say that every form of it, as big data meets, big companies, those are an unholy alliance. I mean, we look at, because they can find microscopic ways they can, scrape, bleed the turnip more and get more out of, their workforce. And so I wouldn't be in favor of that. But again, I think as is the previous question, I think it's society's job in a free market to walk away from those jobs, to walk away from those businesses, to not purchase from those businesses. And that's how we reform, capitalism is through our the use of our dollars, or to stop the use of our dollars. So that's what I would say about this one. I don't think that there's a dichotomy there at all. I think, in fact, if Christians are going to be smart about it, then we want fewer people that are in poverty so that we can cover more bases. Again, I think, or an additional comment rather is oftentimes we see that the people that are most in need didn't get there by accident. Now, that's not to say that there's some inequity, or some people that have had a bad run of not luck, but their situations are such that they started out kind of behind the curve, and that's absolutely true. None of us starts out this human race, at the same place. Um, but that doesn't mean that the best solution is to set everyone back. Uh, you know, but when I've as a pastor, what I have experienced is that when I go to help those outside the church, and it can happen inside the church too, but it's been more often the case that I find these types of situations outside the church. So usually a one-off opportunity that I have to go bring a couch or a bed or some piece of furniture that they need, or a bag of groceries or diapers, whatever it might be. And almost inevitably, when I receive that sort of need and I go try to meet that need, it is evident to me within the first few minutes of interacting with a person that they have gotten to this place in life through a series of bad choices. Now, that doesn't mean that they don't deserve help or that I shouldn't be willing to help. And that's why I'm there. That's why I'm there to help. But if I really want them helped, not just to live a life of constant need of help, but if I truly care about them, I want them to rise above that. Not so that I don't have to help them, but so that they can live the life and have the purpose and dignity that they were made to have. And so I think it's not dichotomous to say, the best way for you to be lifted out of poverty is this system, and then I'll work with that system and through that system, and even outside of that system, to answer the needs that still are there. But I want to see people lifted out of poverty. I want, just like if I truly care about my kids, I don't want them dependent on me their whole lives. I want them to get to a point where they don't need me. That's what true love does. It says, I want you to rise above the need for me to be right there all the time, because we want to raise successful adults. Well, if we truly care about our neighbors, particularly our poor neighbors that need our help right now, our best love and concern for them is best displayed by our desire to see them get beyond that need and maybe even down the road be able to help somebody else out. And so I think it's not capitalism versus Christian ethics. It's what do we think works the best? I believe that capitalism, for all its faults, is still the best form of economy out there, and has done more than the government certainly has ever done to help people out of poverty.